Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
This is Battalion Chief Stephen Page from the Raleigh Fire Department, and you are listening to the SA Matters radio show with Dr. Rich Gassaway. The SA Matters mission is simple. They want to help us see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hello, and welcome to episode 72 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence environments. The SA Matters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes. If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, please contact me by visiting the SAMatters.com website and clicking on the Contact Us link on the top of the homepage. Think about it. Your lessons learned from a near miss could save someone else's life. If you want to share your experience, contact me. I'm coming to you today from Los Angeles, California, where I'm in town meeting with the training staff from the Los Angeles County Fire Department to discuss the potential of doing some situational awareness training for their members. And I built a little vacation time into the trip as well with my family. In today's episode, I'm going to discuss the role of the dispatcher, or communications specialist if you prefer, on first responder situational awareness. So let's jump into the episode feature segment now. Some of the least appreciated members of the emergency response team are the communications specialists, or in some venues termed the dispatchers, and I'll use that term interchangeably here on this episode. How do I know this? First, I served as a communications specialist. Only my job title was dispatcher early in my career, and I was routinely subjected to criticism and ridicule from responders because the information I shared with them wasn't always accurate, like I was giving them some misinformation on purpose. And in my situational awareness classes, I often hear the same criticism of the communication specialist that I endured almost 30 years ago. I would like to offer some perspective on communication specialists and the critical role they can play in forming and maintaining the situational awareness of first responders. How is situational awareness formed? Situational awareness begins with gathering information using your senses: seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling. This beginning stage of the formation of situational awareness is termed perception. Then, the information that you perceive must be understood in the brain. This is termed comprehension. Finally, once you comprehend what is happening, you draw from your past experience and training to help you forecast the future. This is termed prediction. This article focuses on the first two components in the formation of situational awareness: perception and comprehension. And even more restrictive, we're going to explore only one sensory input: hearing. 911, what is your emergency? Unless you've ever served as a communications specialist or dispatcher, you likely have little understanding or appreciation for how difficult it can be to gather accurate, coherent information from a frantic caller who may be scared, confused, or even angry. For most callers who place a 911 call, the stress is significant and emotions are running amok. It is very likely the situational awareness of the civilian caller is being impacted by many of the same barriers that can flaw a responder's situational awareness. Only worse because the civilians are not used to dealing with the stress of emergencies. I have been on the receiving end of many frantic 911 calls. Sometimes the person on the other end of the phone can't even speak in sentences, and oftentimes they're screaming at the dispatcher. For some reason, under stress, people think that if they talk louder or scream, the receiver of the message will understand them better. Not unlike what we sometimes observe from responders under stress at emergency scenes. As the stress goes up, so often does the volume of modulation of the voice. As the communications specialist hears the stress and anxiety in the voice of the caller, it is a natural response for the specialist stress hormone to release some chemicals that will cause the specialist's stress level to rise as well. Not unlike how an excited company officer or commander can convey their stress and anxiety over the radio and impact the stress and anxiety levels of all the responders who are listening to the radio. Painting the picture. As the caller describes the emergency to the communications specialist or dispatcher, they are providing verbal clues and cues, or information, that forms the situational awareness of the dispatcher about what is happening. Stated another way, the caller is painting a picture on the mind of the dispatcher about what is happening. When the caller's information is incomplete, or the caller cannot be understood from stress or perhaps a language barrier, there will be holes in the dispatcher's picture of understanding. As all humans do when faced with incomplete information, the communications specialist's brain then kicks in and evokes one of two responses. First, the specialist may become confused about what is happening as a result of the incomplete information and continue to ask the caller questions to gain clarification, to fill in the missing pieces of information with facts. Sometimes the facts can be extracted from the caller, and sometimes they can't. In the absence of complete and accurate information, the dispatcher's brain may kick in the second possible response and fill in the missing information with assumptions. These assumptions may be accurate, or they may be completely inaccurate. The problem is when the specialist's brain fills in the missing information with assumptions, it's very likely that they won't know that it's happening. You can go to the SAMatters.com website and search articles about this phenomena of filling in that I've written about in previous articles. Search on the SAMatters.com website for the article that I've written on filling in called What You Don't See Can Save You. If a specialist's brain fills in the missing information with a false assumption, the dispatcher may in turn relay that false information to the responding units as if the information is factual. When the responders arrive at the scene and conduct a size-up, they quickly realize the information that was shared with them from the dispatch is not accurate. That's if the arriving crew actually conducts an accurate size-up and does not fall prey to thinking that they already know what's going on based on the information reported to them by the dispatcher. Confabulation. The brain is so good at filling in the missing information that neuroscientists dedicate a lot of time to studying this phenomena. The term used in neuroscience to describe the brain's fibbing is confabulation. When you couple stress and incomplete information in an environment of urgency, it becomes the perfect environment for the brain to confabulate. When a person is confabulating, their brain is essentially lying to them. The person then, in turn, can tell a story that is full of untruthful information. Yes, they are essentially lying, but they won't know that they're doing it. On a side note, I once had a boss who was a master confabulator. He would say I told him things that I never said. Further, he would say that he told me things that he never said. It drove me crazy because I thought he was trying to manipulate me intentionally. At the time, I did not understand the phenomena of confabulation. The way I dealt with it was I learned that I needed to put everything in writing and keep copies because he either didn't read it, or if he did read it, he forgot that he read it, and then confabulated a different reality in his mind. Confabulation is not a phenomena exclusively afflicting communications specialists. At the emergency scene, responders are also vulnerable to confabulate. I've witnessed this, and I have been the victim of it at emergency scenes as well. As a humorous anecdote, I was explaining the phenomena in a class once, and one of the participants noted, "This happens in the firehouse too." We all know firefighters who would never let the truth stand in the way of telling a good story. While this is true, there is a difference between embellishing the truth for the sake of humor, or in some cases with the intent of damaging another person, and confabulation. The former is done consciously and with intent. The latter is done subconsciously and with no intent. Triangulation. One of the ways to sort through misinformation and to combat the effects of confabulation is to triangulate the data. This means to gather data from various sources or points of view and then compare and contrast them to see where overlaps occur. Granted, it's not always possible in a time-compressed environment of emergency scenes. However, a talented communications specialist can gather information from 2 or 3 callers and sort out the common or overlapping information. The information gathered from one caller can also prompt the dispatcher to ask more direct questions of a subsequent caller. Too much information. The safety of responders is improved when they are supplied with accurate information, although there can be a point where too much information is shared. This can overwhelm the mental processors, especially under stress. In reality, there's only a small amount of information needed to form an awareness about the call and how to prepare for it. Some dispatchers share everything the caller says. This oversharing can lead to information overload. I can think of a few times while responding when the dispatcher shared information with me and I thought to myself, okay, I didn't need to know that. When a dispatcher is oversharing, it may be because they're trying to be helpful, or it may be because the dispatcher does not understand the job well enough to know what essential information is and is not essential. The pre-arrival lens. The information shared by the communications specialist with the responding personnel forms the pre-arrival lens. The pre-arrival lens is essentially the visual picture of understanding painted on the mind of the responder using the words of the dispatcher. Too few words, and there will be empty spots or holes on the canvas of understanding. Too many words, and the canvas becomes an incomprehensible blob of colors, shapes, and textures, and can become very confusing. I'm continually amazed at how many first response organizations do not see their communications specialists or dispatchers as an integral component to their success. I have talked to scores of departments that have trained their personnel on accountability, Mayday operations, and rapid intervention. This training has included countless hours of hands-on drills, and yet in many instances, the dispatchers were never involved in any of the drills. This is shameful. Remember, the communications specialist or dispatcher operates in a much less dynamic environment, often with less noise than an emergency scene, and often wearing a radio headset. Because the dispatcher relies entirely on their ears and does not have to process the meaning of critical visual information, there's no burning building for the dispatcher to be looking at. They have a distinct advantage when it comes to forming understanding of verbal information. While those operating an emergency scene must often process the meaning of visual and audible information simultaneously, the dispatcher only has to process the meaning of audible information. Let's make a point of clarification. In the formation of situational awareness, it's better to be able to see and hear clues and cues simultaneously. But it can also lead to overwhelm, especially when something goes awry. There have been many documented instances where a dispatcher heard a mayday or a distress call over a radio that the commander did not hear. Having a dispatcher as a second set of ears can be an invaluable resource. Involve the dispatchers in training for critical operations. We all know that if the proverbial crap hits the fan, the dispatcher is going to play an important role in helping us manage the information and arrange for additional resources. So involve the dispatcher in the crap hitting the fan training scenarios. Invite the communications specialists to do a ride-along. We take a lot for granted that the communications specialists know a whole lot more about our field operations than what they really do. If we do not give them direct exposure to our world, then where are the dispatchers going to learn about our operations? From movies? TV shows? I think you can see how that might not work out so well. When faced with a scenario where a communications specialist or dispatcher does not provide accurate information for a call, follow up with them to gain a perspective about how he or she came to believe the information being shared was accurate. Develop a program for communications specialists to ride along with the operational units of your agency. Develop a program where company and command personnel spend time in the communications or dispatch center. Develop a training program to teach communications specialists or dispatchers the fundamentals of emergency operations. Involve the communications specialists or dispatchers in critical training evolutions so they can practice their communications and hone their support skills. Before I close today's episode, I want to take a moment to thank the departments and organizations that have hosted recent Situational Awareness Matters tour stops. Your efforts to bring this valuable and powerful training on situational awareness and high-risk, high-consequence decision-making to your members and others in your region are greatly appreciated. At the end of August, I was at Fire Rescue International in Atlanta, Georgia, and I did 4 programs on situational awareness, high-risk decision-making, and training for failure. While there, I also recorded a video interview for Fire Chief Magazine, and I did a book signing for Fire Engineering books and videos on my book Situational Awareness for Emergency Response. I was very pleased that the book sold out in about 20 minutes. By the time I got down to the book signing, there was a long line of people waiting, and I really appreciated all the support that you gave me in buying out the books. And I'd also like to thank Midwest Fire for allowing me to stop by their booth and spend some time talking to their customers. And boy, they have happy customers at Midwest Fire. They are also the provider or the sponsor of the new poster that I put out on situational awareness barriers. Go to samatters.com and go to the store and look at the poster that has been created that will be an interactive linked poster on the website. It looks like the periodic chart of the elements, And then you can click on those elements, which are the barriers of situational awareness, and it'll divert you to articles that I've written on the website about those various situational awareness barriers. So thanks to Midwest Fire for supporting that, and I enjoyed visiting with you at FRI. If you're interested in attending an upcoming program or event, on September 10th I will be at the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Officer Graduate Symposium. There I'm doing a TEDx-style presentation that they call Chuck Chats, 20 minutes on creating the thinking firefighter. On September 12th, I'll be at the Plainfield Fire Department in Michigan. September 14th, the Bloomfield Township Fire Department in Michigan. September 23rd, Fire Rescue Canada, that's the Canadian Fire Chiefs Association Conference. I'll be giving the closing keynote at that conference in Victoria, British Columbia. September 26th, I'll be at the Delran, New Jersey Fire Department. And September 28th, I'll be presenting at the Ontario Fire College in Gravenhurst, Ontario. If you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop, head over to the samatters.com website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Upcoming Events Schedule. Here's hoping there's a tour stop near you and we'll be able to get a chance to meet up. If you're interested in having your department or association in the lineup of tour stops, contact me through the website and we'll get something set up for you. If you're not a member of the SA Matters community of learners yet, you might want to consider joining. There are over 5,000 members connected here on SA Matters, sharing ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to train members on how to be critical thinkers and resilient problem solvers. Membership is free. Free. And when you sign up, I'll send you a special report that I've created just for new members called 25 Best Practices for Improving First Responder Safety. If you're not a member yet, head over to the samatters.com website and click on the red box on the right side of the homepage that says Free Membership. As a reminder, every episode of the SA Matters radio show has a corresponding show notes page on the samatters.com website. All the most recent episodes scroll on the home page, but for the older episodes, you can go to samatters.com / and enter the episode number, which is always mentioned at the start of each show. For example, if you wanted to access, say, episode 60, open up your internet browser, type www.samatters.com / 60, and that'll take you to the page that contains the link to that episode. The show notes page contains additional information and resources about the episode, and depending on who the guest is, there may also be pictures, videos, and audio from incidents where there have been near misses. There will also be contact information for the guest if I have a guest on the show. On the show notes page, you can also leave me questions and leave your feedback about the episode. If you want to get connected with me on social media, you can follow @RichGasaway or @SAMatters on Twitter. The SA Matters Twitter community has over 16,000 followers supporting our mission there on Twitter. Thank you for all of those who connected with me on Twitter. You can also get connected with me on Facebook by liking the SA Matters page. And on LinkedIn, you can find me by searching Rich Gasaway on LinkedIn. Thanks to all those on Facebook and LinkedIn who've connected with me. Just tonight, I recorded my first Periscope live video presentation. If you want to get connected with me on Periscope, that's a company that is offshoot of Twitter, where a person can go and give video presentations. Well, you can get on there and do video about anything. But I did a video talk tonight about situational awareness, answered some questions live for viewers. People can type in, just like your text messaging, type in questions. Had people asking me where there were upcoming programs near where they lived, and I was able to put them in the direction of where those programs are and how to find things on the website. So that was really cool, and I expect to be doing more things on Periscope. Thanks to Ryan Pennington from Views from the Jump Seat, and he's our resident hoarder expert for turning me on to Periscope. So thanks, Ryan, and I think that's going to be a nice medium to share information with. If you like the SA Matters radio show, please consider going to iTunes or Stitcher Radio and subscribing. Search for SA Matters Radio, SA Matters Radio, to sign up. Please consider leaving me some feedback once you go there. And if you like the show, give it a 5-star review, and that helps others to find the show, as well as motivating me to work harder for you. Well, that's it. Episode 72 is complete. Thank you to our sponsor, Midwest Fire. And thank you to all of the hosts of our live events. Thank you to our listeners for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gassaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gassaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgassaway.com.